there. My name is Erica. I'm a registered dietitian here at Chaz. I see some new faces and some familiar faces, so welcome today. This is our monthly cooking class. We do this once a month, the second Wednesday of every month. And we kind of do a different topic or theme each month to kind of help build up your kitchen skills and your kitchen confidence. So today we're talking about sauces. Okay, so how to make a healthy type of sauce to elevate otherwise boring foods, like something like vegetables or brown rice, okay, or whole wheat pasta or just plain chicken. You know, some people are like, oh, I have to eat chicken and vegetables again. Well, chicken and vegetables can be really fun if you have like a tasty sauce or a tasty dip to go on it. So that's what we're going to be mostly talking about today. So, yes, there's a chair here. Hi, no problem. There's a chair up here. Allison, would you go grab us a couple chairs? Ask one of the MAs. Yeah. Okay. So, and this dude right here, he's doing Facebook Live so that people can watch on Facebook as well. So don't be alarmed. There's not like Hollywood up in here or anything. Yeah, no, it's not real TV. Okay, so I've got some boiling water. It's not quite boiling yet. My little 2-burner oven thing is trying to work real hard at getting that water hot enough. But I'm going to cook up some whole wheat pasta. And what we're going to do today, I'm going to make 4 different sauces. And then I'm going to have you guys experiment with tasting the different sauces with different foods. So I have some brown rice, some whole wheat pasta, a chopped veggie mix, some raw vegetables, and different things so you can kind of be creative and make your own little dish with some of these foods that we make, okay? So I think I'm going to go ahead and get started making our pesto. Has anyone tried pesto? A couple people? Okay, yeah. So pesto is, what herb is typically used in pesto? Basil. There's garlic too, though. But basil is the typical herb. But you know, pesto is extremely versatile. So you could use parsley or spinach or arugula or anything green, really. And the other key components of pesto would be pine nuts, garlic, and olive oil. Those are kind of the key ingredients. So honestly, it's real simple and pretty inexpensive to make as well. Okay, so we're gonna start. I've got some garlic cloves here, and I'm just gonna show you how I kind of broke apart this whole garlic. Now, I always recommend buying the whole garlic instead of buying that pre-minced jar stuff. This stuff has so much more flavor than that pre-minced jar stuff, okay? So I'm just gonna take my knife here, place it on top, and give it a good smack, okay? That's how I break the garlic cloves apart, okay? So I'm gonna probably use about 3 big cloves of garlic in my pesto because I like garlic and it adds a lot of good flavor. The best way I use to peel garlic would just be to cut off the root end, and then once again, we're gonna give it a smack. And then the peel kind of slips right out and you have your garlic clove. So we're just gonna throw those in my food processor here. And we're gonna not even bother with chopping them up because the food processor is gonna mince them up a little bit, okay? Just take off the root end, give it a smack. And it smashes it a little bit, but it makes it a lot easier to come out of its peel so you don't have you're not peeling garlic for 30 minutes. Okay, so 3 whole cloves of garlic, and then I also have some pine nuts here. So I got these from Trader Joe's, but you can find them pretty much any grocery store that you go to. So I'm going to use about 1/3 cup. And instead of pine nuts, sometimes I use walnuts or pecans. You could really use any kind of nut as your base for pesto. So just depending. So about 1/3 cup there. And then I am going to add my basil leaves, okay? So I have these washed basil leaves. I'm gonna use quite a bit actually, but first we're gonna give this a quick pulse. I'm gonna turn it around here. Okay. And if you don't have a food processor, you could do this in a blender. But you could also just mince up the basil really fine and mince up the garlic really fine, add your olive oil. It would be more like a chunky base or chunky pesto, but it would still work even if you didn't have a food processor. So we're just going to
use the NutriBullet for it?
yeah, okay. I think you could. There we go. Just going to give that a little pulse. Okay, so now that garlic's more minced up and the pine nuts are broken up a little bit as well. Now we're going to add in our basil leaves. Again, don't really have to worry about chopping these too much because it's just going to get minced up in here. And this is especially good in the summer because basil will be in season. You can pretty much get basil year round though, and you can also buy the basil plants where you grow them yourself. Keep them alive and water them and keep them in your windowsill, right? They do need quite a bit of sunlight, so they might struggle with this kind of weather, but.
Ours froze.
It froze? I know. I mean, I always have a great herb garden during the summer, but I can't keep it alive very long in the winter. Inside, it's harder. So I usually just dry a lot of my herbs and then keep them for the winter. So you use dried herbs in the winter and fresh herbs during the summer. But like I said, like I've made this a lot of times. Instead of using basil, I'll use spinach leaves, or I'll use arugula. And if you make it with parsley, then that's also a sauce called chimichurri. And that's more of like a South American type of sauce that they serve over meats and grilled vegetables and stuff like that. All right, so I'm not including the stems in here, just the leaves. Pull those off. You want about, I don't know, 3 or 4 cups of basil. I'm gonna save a little bit of basil for our marinara sauce that we're gonna make. Okay, and then we're also going to pulse this up. Okay, so it's pretty much all ground up in there. You guys can kind of see. This is what the texture looks like. Yeah, can you smell that?
Yeah, it smells good.
Basil and garlic, yum. Okay, so we've got that all minced up. Now, I actually forgot my lemon, but you'll see that the recipe calls for a squeeze of lemon, so add that in when you make it at home. Okay, so with it running, when you start it running, we're gonna drizzle in our olive oil, okay? And this is gonna slowly emulsify it. We're just gonna start drizzling that in.
Coconut oil?
I've never tried it with coconut oil, but because coconut oil is solid at room temp, it might affect the consistency of your pesto. And olive oil adds a really nice flavor to pesto as well. What kind of oil?
Avocado.
Yeah.
How's that work?
Yeah, I think that would work equally as well. It might have a little bit different of flavor than when you use olive oil, but avocado oil is pretty mild in taste. It doesn't have a strong flavor, so I think it would probably be really good. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Yeah, kind of emulsifying really good. Yeah. So the final thing that we're gonna add is just a little bit of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Okay, so I have a little bit of Parmesan right here that I grated from the block. In the same way that I recommend using whole garlic, I recommend using an actual block of cheese instead of buying the pre-grated stuff, especially Parmesan. Those little stick Parmesan things that you find in the little tub, no, there's like no flavor in there. So you want to get the actual real block of Parmesan and grate it yourself. Okay, so we're just gonna add a little bit in there. And then give it a good blend again. Perfect. Okay, so here we go. And this is our pesto. So it looks kind of good. So that was like, what, 4 ingredients? And you guys will get to taste this. Actually, you know what else I'm going to add. Who knows what else I'm going to add? Just a little salt and pepper.
I was going to say
okay?
salt, but I was like,
We are just going to season it a little bit. Because when you cook from scratch, it's okay to use a little bit of salt and pepper for seasoning because you're not using processed foods, you're using real foods. Okay, I have a little bit of kosher salt here that I use. Okay, I like kosher salt because, you know, salt is salt. I always say that. People say, okay, which kind of salt has the least amount of sodium? Well, no, salt is salt, it has sodium, okay? But sea salt is good. I like kosher salt because it has a little bit stronger flavor than iodized salt, and you can use less of it for more flavor. So that's why I usually use that. So a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper over here. And you guys will find me repeating this a lot. Fresh cracked pepper is better than already ground pepper because it's going to have more flavor. Okay? So we're going to add that in there. Give it another whir. And then we'll be done. Perfect. All right. That looks really good. So, moving on. I'm going to start this pasta or else it'll never get done. So I'm not sure. And this is the pan that I want to use for my marinara sauce. So we'll hopefully get this done and out of the way. Okay. So, ideally when you cook pasta, you want to have boiling water that is as salty as the sea. Okay? That means you add quite a bit of salt to your pasta water. But so that makes for more flavorful pasta, but that you don't have to salt afterwards, okay? Because it's gonna cook and absorb that flavor while it's cooking, and so while you're cooking foods, it's better to season them instead of afterwards. You're gonna end up using less when you season the layers versus if you just make everything and wait to the end and taste it and you're like, oh, that's bland, salt shaker. You know, you're gonna probably end up overdoing it on the salt. So season the layers as you cook. Okay? All right, so pesto's done, pasta is started. We're gonna go ahead and get started on our creamy avocado sauce. Okay, this is a sauce that I really like to use like with Mexican food or rice, that type of thing. So I have 2 avocados right here, and you want them to be firm but also supple because you know that they're gonna be ripe and creamy and not too green. You know, avocados kind of have a sweet spot. They're either totally green or not done at all or overdone. So okay, I'm just going to, and these are pretty much I think good. Yeah, so nice green interior. Okay, no bruises or spotting. The easiest way to get out of an avocado pit is to smack it with your knife and then twist it and take it out. Okay, that way you're not digging around for the pit. I'm gonna do that again over here. This one is a little less done than the other one. Thanks. There we go. So this one's a little bit more green than the other one. That's why it was harder to get open. A little harder to get out the pit as well. Oh gosh. There we go. There we go. It comes out eventually. Okay. So I'm going to use a blender to make this sauce, but again, you can either whisk it, stir it, use a blender, whatever you want. So I have my NutriBullet here that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to put the ingredients in this cup. So let's see. Okay, so I'm just going to scoop out the inside of the avocado. And our recipe calls for 1 avocado, but I'm trying to make a little bit more so everyone has the chance to try it. And of course you can scale the recipe based on how much you want to make or what you're making it for. This works really good as a dressing, like for salads or for rice dishes or as an accompaniment for chili. You can work on a lot of things. And avocados are a really good source of healthy fat, and they can replace some of the cheese in your recipes because cheese is a good source of protein and has some nutrients, but unfortunately it's the not so healthy kinds of fats that are in cheese, and avocado has a lot of the really good kinds of fats. So replacing a little bit of that cheese with some avocado is always a good strategy.
So the avocado doesn't have the protein, but it has
Right.
the good fat.
Right. Yep, avocado, not real high in protein, but.
You can substitute avocado for butter too, right?
Right. Right, like especially in baked goods. I think we talked about that last class too, about how you could use like mashed avocado for to replace some of the butter, like in brownies or something like that. Absolutely. Okay. So my recipe actually doesn't call for this, but I actually like adding something creamy like Greek yogurt to this sauce, Greek yogurt, or maybe some of the olive oil based mayonnaise, just a couple of tablespoons, just to give it a little bit more of that creaminess. Okay, so we've got our avocado in there. We are going to add a little bit of garlic as well. So I'm gonna add about 1 clove of garlic. You could also add a little bit of onion or a little bit of shallot. That's a really good addition. So this one, just because I don't want anyone to get big, huge chunks of garlic, I'm just gonna chop a little bit before I put it in there, just to make sure that it gets evenly blended. Garlic, and then for a little bit of spice, we are going to add a jalapeno. Okay, so I have this whole jalapeno right here. So the best way that I peel or I chop peppers is to start at the top and then just kind of lob off the sides. Okay, that way you can get the fleshy part that you actually want without any of the seeds or that pith inside. So I'm just gonna lob off all 4 sides here.
But what about gloves?
You can wear gloves.
I mean, do you have to with that variety?
Jalapeno is not like super spicy. I wear gloves like if I'm making habanero jelly or something, like with habaneros. Those are really spicy, and if you accidentally touch your eye, you will be sorry. But with jalapeno, I don't find that it's super necessary to wear gloves. However, I have made the mistake of chopping a jalapeno and then taking out my contacts. That was not fun. So you want to make sure you do, either if you wear contacts or something like that, to either wash your hands really well with warm soapy water or wear gloves. But okay, so I'm probably going to add about half of this. I don't want to make it overly spicy, so we're just going to put that in there as well. And then we're going to use the juice of 1 lime. So I've got this lime here. And then I usually wash my lemons and limes. You know, sometimes you think, oh, I only need to wash fruits like apples, but you want to wash your citrus fruits as well, because even though you're not eating the rind, I'm going to squeeze the juice in there, and of course the juice hits the rind. And I actually read that that's like the dirtiest thing at a bar or something, is the lemon and the limes, because of the outside.
Years ago, a group of us went down to Mexico, and one of the things they told us is not to eat oranges and stuff because of what it had soaked in through the skin. So.
Oh, really?
But that's down there. Their water is very different.
Right. A little bit more contaminated. So we're just gonna squeeze it out. This thing is very handy. Of course, you can use a good old hand, but I really like the squeezer because it gets a lot of the juice out of there, which is kind of cool. Okay. So we got our juice in there. Then we're going to add some cilantro. Okay, so I got some fresh cilantro here. And I usually just try and kind of shuck the leaves off so I'm not getting a lot of the stems. That works pretty well. And then we just give those a rough chop and throw them in as well. Okay. And then,
Is there a way to keep cilantro fresh?
yeah, I find that giving it a good rinse and then wrapping it in a paper towel and then keeping it in a airtight plastic bag helps it stay for longer. Yeah. Also, you could buy those little like pods, those little herb pods. They sell them at the store. That you put your herbs in and they close up. They're kind of like a Tupperware, but they're supposed to ideally help preserve your herbs a little bit better. But the truth is, you really got to eat them pretty quickly. So, but that's not a bad thing. Herbs are really, really good for you. They're one of the highest nutrient foods out there. So, eat them up. Especially parsley is so good for you. Can't eat enough parsley. Okay, how's our pasta doing here? It's looking
Even
good.
dried parsley?
Dried parsley is great. Yeah.
I mean, it holds its nutrient value.
Yeah, you know, dried spices or herbs can be, obviously you're not probably eating the quantity that you would fresh, but it's still gonna have some of those nutrients. They do lose their flavor over time though, like, so you wanna keep your spice cabinet relatively current. I mean, I was just going through my spice cabinet. We inherited a bunch of spices from my husband's grandma. I had things that expired in like 2002, and I was just like, for real, like I need to clean this stuff out because this stuff is not good anymore. Probably doesn't have any flavor. So, okay. So, and then to get this kind of going, we're gonna add just a little bit of cold water. So this is my cold one, and based on how it blends together, we'll kind of determine how much water we use. And like I said, just a little bit of creamy Greek yogurt or mayonnaise in here would be really, really good. But I didn't bring it today.
How full did you fill that? About halfway full of the water?
Yeah, I think the recipe calls for about 2/3 of a cup. So just kind of depending. But like I said, I'm using 2 avocados instead of 1. I was just going to use 1. So you kind of have to gauge it based on that. So let's see how this blends up. Here we go. Oh yeah, that looks good. And because avocados are so naturally creamy, you really don't need, you know, something else. You just get this nice creamy sauce. So we're just gonna add a little bit more water just to thin it out just a little bit, and then a little bit of salt, and then that will basically be our avocado sauce. Any questions on this one?
Can we use a blender on any of this if we don't have a blender?
Yes, a blender. I mean, this is basically, I actually don't have a blender. I have this instead, which is basically a mini blender. So you could just use your regular blender, no problem. Yeah.
Also for the pesto sauce too?
Yes, absolutely. I've definitely made pesto with a regular blender before. Okay, yes, here we go. So we're just gonna season that with a little bit of salt. Oh, that's good. And then let's give that another blend.
Are you still gonna add the yogurt?
Well, no, I was kind of giving that as a suggestion. You could do that. I don't have any today though.
Oh.
Okay, looks good. Hopefully everything's blended up in there pretty well. You don't want any big chunks of cilantro or garlic. I don't know. I think this could use even a little bit more water. And that's the thing about cooking. You can kind of just play with it and find your consistency that you like. If you're using this on something like enchiladas, maybe you want it a little thicker. But if you're dressing a salad, maybe you want it a little thinner. So you kind of just play around with consistency that you like. I would like it to be just a little thinner though. This is a sauce. And look at that bright green. Look, green here and green here. I love it. And the next sauce we're gonna make is red. Perfect. Yay. Anyone have any questions on this? Yeah, this is going to be a great accompaniment to a lot of foods. And, ooh, I like this as a dip, too, for vegetables. Like to dip carrot sticks or cucumbers or snap peas or things like that. Dip it in here. You get some nice, good, healthy fats. Way better than ranch, right? Okay, so that one's done. I'm going to check on my pasta here, see if it's cooked through. Now, with pasta, you want it to be al dente, which means what? To the tooth, right? Yeah, so it's not mushy, but it's just nicely cooked. So we'll see. Yeah, that's definitely cooked. So I am going to have my friend Allison drain this for me. over in the sink. And you guys, how exciting is this? Allison is a registered dietitian too, and so is Annette. They're 2 dietitians. I forgot to introduce them, but they're here today. They just started at Child's yesterday, and we're so excited to have them because me and Carrie have been the only 2 dietitians here for a while, so we're doubling our numbers in one day, so it's pretty exciting. So I'm going to give you this, and it's too hot.
Awesome.
So, you're going to help me out with that. So, the next sauce that we're going to move on to is a basic marinara sauce. Okay, so marinara sauce is basically tomatoes with a little extra flavor. And a lot of people buy store-bought marinara sauce, like from a jar. But I recommend making your own because it's so easy, seriously so easy. And you can control the ingredients that go in it versus a lot of those jarred kinds have a lot of added sugar or added preservatives, things like that. So you have control when you make your own. So the first thing I'm going to start with is, of course, more garlic. That's why I brought a lot of garlic today. So we're actually going to use, I don't know, probably like 6 cloves. Yeah. I mean, when you're making Italian food, you want to load up on the garlic for sure. Will you keep it in the strainer? Thank you. Or even put it in that red bowl. It's fine. So lots of garlic. Add a lot of good flavor. Garlic and olive oil. You can't really go wrong with those when you're making Italian food. Almost any food. I would stand by that as well. Okay. And so tomatoes right now, unfortunately, are not really in season, okay? The tomatoes you buy in the store are like watery and bland and gross. So I, during the winter months, still like to make homemade marinara, but I actually used canned tomatoes. And, you know, some people hate on canned foods, but actually a couple of canned vegetables can really be a good bet. A lot of times canned tomatoes are picked at the height of their season and canned within 8 hours of being picked. So they have a lot of nutrients packed in there. Canning really preserves some of the nutrients, and so they can be just as good for you, probably better for you right now than if you went and bought fresh tomatoes, which had to travel how many days and how many nights in the back of a truck, you know, from who knows where. So really trying to buy those canned tomatoes during the winter months is a good strategy. And it can be less expensive too. So, let's see. Where is the can?
Wait, you need to put it in your name.
Yes. So I like to make my marinara sauce in like a pretty big skillet, like the one I have going on right here. Not really in a saucepan. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so I'm going to get some olive oil heated up on here. So I'm probably going to use about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. There we go. So, got some olive oil, and it's going to get heated up, and then we're going to add our garlic. Now, you want to make sure that your olive oil is warm/hot before you add your vegetables. You don't want to add the vegetables to cold oil, or else they just sit there and absorb all the oil, okay? So you want to make sure that when you drop something in, it sizzles, okay? So.
Have you noticed how olive oil seems to go rancid pretty fast? So what I've been doing is pouring it out of the bottle and putting it in a different glass container and putting it in my refrigerator. Because it melts at room temperature.
Right.
And that way your nice, expensive, extra virgin cold pressed, the best olive oil you can get, is not going bad.
Right.
You don't even have a chance to use it.
Yeah, olive oil, I mean, it has a decently long shelf life, but you're right, like at high temps and stuff, it can go rancid. So it is important to preserve it. I like to transfer mine to my glass container instead of the plastic container or whatever container it comes in. I like to buy the olive oil from Costco, the organic extra virgin olive oil from Costco. Okay, so what I'm doing with my garlic here, this is kind of a mess, but I'll kind of show you. So I have my cloves. I'm actually just slicing them, okay? So holding the knife with your forefinger and your thumb on the hilt, okay, you don't hold your knife down here, you hold it up here for more control. Okay, and we're just going to thinly slice the cloves. And we're actually leaving kind of bigger chunks in this sauce. Not huge chunks, but just really thinly sliced. You want to curl your fingers under so you don't grab them when you're slicing. And the knife does the work, not your hands. Okay. So, yum, lots of garlic.
So you didn't really smash those ones, did you?
I smashed them to get the peel off, but I didn't really smash them to completely pulverize them. But I always give them a good smash to get the peel off. Okay, so the test, we gotta see. Not quite hot enough yet. We'll wait a little bit. You can kind of start to hear it sizzle a little. Let's wait till it's warmed up just a little bit more. Now it's really important with this sauce. You know, you want it to cook the garlic, but you don't want it to burn the garlic. And garlic burns pretty quickly. There we go. Hear that? Okay? So we want to get it till it's aromatic and you can start smelling the garlic. But when it starts to turn brown, you want to turn down the heat for sure when it starts to turn brown. Because burnt garlic has a very bitter taste and it can kind of affect your sauce. Okay.
Do you find that smashing the garlic releases the flavor a little bit more?
Sure does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay, we can start to smell it. So, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I got my garlic going in my olive oil here. Yeah, it smells good, huh? I'm gonna make the whole clinic jealous. They all need to be down here.
They'll be down here.
Yeah, especially this lower level down here. They're always like, Erica, what the heck? Did you make us lunch? Okay. We're gonna keep that going. Garlic usually takes about 30 seconds to 1 minute to kind of cook and release its aroma and its flavors. So we're gonna get that going. And then, where are my tomatoes? Here's my tomatoes, okay? So I really like whole San Marzano tomatoes, okay? These are the real deal. And they're really good, really flavorful, and perfect for Italian cooking. So before, where did I get this? I got this at Winco. I do a lot of my shopping either at Winco, Trader Joe's, or Fred Meyer, or Costco. But a lot of places will have this. I think they have these at Trader Joe's as well. So these are whole tomatoes, okay? So what I want to do, now I promise you my hands are clean. I'm actually going to smash these with my hands, okay? Uh-oh. Okay. So you just give them a little bit of a smash. A lot of them are kind of pulverized anyway in this tomato juice. I'm just going to add a little bit of water, get as much of those juices out of there as we can. Garlic is looking good. And then, yeah, you just want to smash it up. Okay. Cool, and then we're gonna add these into our garlic olive oil. Okay. Ooh, sizzle. Yum. Okay. It's okay to get a little messy. You could also do this with a potato masher, but hands are just more fun. Okay. Okay.
People in our houses, you can't have a good meal without a good mess.
There you go. I mean, look at me up here. Every time this cooking class, you all know, I make a big mess. Okay, so we got the tomatoes in. We're gonna go ahead and give those a simmer. And honestly, the longer the better, okay? My recipe calls for 15 minutes of simmering, but honestly, I think that it can go all day and it's gonna be even better, okay? So we're gonna add just a couple more ingredients in here, okay, just to balance out some of the flavors, okay? So tomatoes by nature, really nutritious, high in lycopene, high in antioxidants, but they're also pretty high in acid. So in order to balance out that kind of acidic flavor, we're gonna add just a pinch of salt and a pinch of sugar. And those really kind of help round out and make it a more enjoyable sauce. So, got some of my salt here. So we're gonna add a pinch of salt and a pinch of sugar.
That tames the acidity, a little bit of sugar and salt?
Yep, a little bit of sugar and a little bit of salt. Probably about a fourth to a half teaspoon of each. Yeah, kind of rounds it out. You could also use a teaspoon of honey to round out if you didn't want to use like refined white sugar. And honey actually goes pretty well with tomatoes in my opinion, so it works pretty well. Then we're just gonna add a few more herbs. So I was kind of talking about how I have a nice herb garden during the summer, but then it dies in the winter. So I dry my herbs. So this is a bunch of oregano that I had during the summer, and I just kind of hung it up upside down and dried it out, and then made these little bags of dried herbs. So I just have some dried oregano, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of crumple it and rub it through my hands, because doing that helps release some of the oils and some of the flavors and breaks it up into smaller pieces. I'm just gonna add a little bit of that, and then we're going to add a sprig of fresh basil, and that's just gonna sit in there while it simmers. And that's just gonna I'm just gonna add the whole thing in there. And then we'll take that out right before, and then the last thing I'm gonna add is just a pinch of red pepper flakes, just to give it a little bit of spice. That also helps round out, get all those kind of flavors in there. Also, sometimes what I like to do is take like a whole red chili and just put it in there, let it simmer for a little bit, and then take it out. Same thing with the herbs. You put it in there, let it simmer, then take it back out. I'm just gonna put a little bit of those. Nice, and I also rub those between my hands because that helps release some of those oils and get a little bit better flavor. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit on that so that it can simmer away while we make our final sauce, which is going to be a peanut sauce. Probably one of my favorites. Oh no, you don't like peanut sauce?
Most people
are at
some people are
0.3. I'm at 0.13 to allergic with that.
Oh no.
Yeah, some
I'm
people
glad
are
you
very
know,
close.
so you don't have a reaction.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
okay.
granddaughters like peanuts.
So stay far away, far away. Good thing I made that one last. I'm not contaminated. Right? Okay, so peanut sauce. Here I have some peanut butter right here. I actually used this natural Jif. I find that the creamy peanut butter actually works better for making the peanut sauce. I usually buy more of the natural peanut butter, but I really like the consistency of this one for making a peanut sauce, so that's what I'm using today. So I've got about a cup of peanut butter here probably that I'm just going to add to, and peanut sauce works so well for so many things. But if you are allergic to peanuts, you could always make this with almond butter or sunflower seed butter, and it would still probably be just as delicious and even more nutritious probably. So that would be a variation for your family if you want. Okay, so I'm going to add about 1/3 cup of rice vinegar. I buy the seasoned rice vinegar. I'm gonna add that in. And peanut sauce, you could make peanut noodle salad, you could have it over rice, you could have it on a regular green salad, you could use it as a dipping sauce for vegetables, you could make chicken kebabs and have peanut dipping sauce with your chicken kebabs. It's really, really super versatile. And then we're gonna add also about 1/3 cup of soy sauce. I buy the low sodium variety because soy sauce is pretty high in sodium. So this sauce does not need salt because we're using soy sauce instead. So we're gonna probably put about 1/3 cup of that in there. Okay. We're gonna put about 1/4 cup of honey in there. Again, balancing out the flavors, a little bit of sweetness with the saltiness, with the acidity from the vinegar, from the richness of the peanut butter. They all come together and make a really good sauce. So, I mean, kind of think about that when you're making any type of sauce. You want something for fat, you want something for salt, you want something for sweet, you know, so you have that balance of flavor. Put about 1/4 cup of honey in there. Scoop that out. And then, I like a little bit of spicy in most of my things. So sometimes you add a little bit for spice as well. So for my spice, in this I'm going to add sriracha. which, how many of you like sriracha? Yeah, sriracha is so good. It adds a lot of good flavor for not that many calories. It's mostly a dried pepper condiment, so it works really well. I'm gonna probably put about a teaspoon of that in there. I don't know where my teaspoon went, so I'm just gonna freestyle. Okay, there we go. And so we're gonna give this a whisk. And then for our aromatics kind of in there, we are going to add some fresh garlic and some fresh ginger. So I just have a whole knob of ginger over here. And to be honest, I don't even bother peeling it. Okay, I just lob off kind of the dried end there, so you see that fresh ginger in there. And I'm just going to use this microplane. You could use like a cheese grater, or you could just mince it yourself with a knife. But I just, like this. And we're just gonna get some of that fresh ginger in there. Yeah, you can smell it, huh? It smells good. So I'll probably use about a teaspoon. Yeah, and if anyone doesn't have, this is called a microplane. So you can look for that at the store if you don't have one. It's really good for zesting limes or zesting lemons, doing garlic, doing ginger, to get it real minced and fine so you don't have big pieces of ginger in your food. Okay, so I have quite a bit off here. Just gonna get that off. Get this little bit in here. And then I'm also going to do the same thing with a clove of garlic. I'll smash it a little bit. Comes right out. And then I'm gonna do that same thing and kind of grate it. Just again, so in this sauce, you know, like if you use it for a dipping sauce, you don't want big pieces of garlic and ginger in there. So giving a little grate helps. Cool. So we're just gonna do 1 clove of garlic for this sauce. Good thing no one's allergic to garlic, because there's garlic in all 4 of our sauces today. But you know what? If there's one thing I could prescribe for more people to eat, it would probably be garlic. And probably kale too or something. I can smell that peanut sauce. It smells really good. All right. Looking really good. Our tomato sauce is simmering away, developing flavor. And then one of the biggest rules when you're cooking is what? Not that there's rules when you're cooking. You have to taste it. Make sure the seasoning's right? Okay, so where did I put my spoons here? Make sure this is right. That's good. You know, one thing that I actually kind of forgot to add would be, I have some warm water here. I'm gonna thin it out with just a little bit of warm water. Just so that it's kind of a thinner consistency.
So it goes farther.
And it goes farther too. But like when it's thinner, it like coats noodles better, and it coats a lot of things better when it's a little bit thinner consistency. Emulsifies it a little bit better too. Okay, and I just tasted it, and I think it needs a little bit more sweet and a little bit more spicy, so I'm going to adjust accordingly. I probably did a scant 1/4 of a cup the first time, so I'm gonna do a little bit more just to equal that out, and just a little bit more of that. All right. Any questions on the peanut sauce? What you can use it for, or how I made it, the ingredients? Any questions? Yes. Yeah, that is a good question. Yeah, they're all lined up right here. Okay. To get all 5 of the. Actually, I made 4 sauces, but I actually included a 5th recipe. It's actually a creamy cauliflower Alfredo sauce. So you can make a healthy Alfredo, but with cauliflower instead of heavy cream and butter and whatever else you make Alfredo sauce with, right? So yeah, definitely. Okay, that looks really good. So you guys, this is what we're gonna do. Now that all of our sauces are done, I definitely want you all to try them, okay? And we're going to try them on some, okay, otherwise maybe plain foods that we can jazz up. And I want you to be kind of creative. So I have like kind of set up a couple different spots here where I have some raw veggies, some shredded chicken, and Allison, you want to help me kind of divvy that up? And then she's going to help me with this brown rice, and we're going to put the brown rice different places. And then we've got the pasta, and then I have like a little bit of cheese and some green onions and some olives, so you can kind of be creative and make something a little fun to try. So yeah, get creative, make something good. Yeah.
So which one's good on the rice? Is it the peanut one?
I'm gonna leave that up to you.
Oh, the pesto would be
I think-
wonderful, and so would the
Yeah, I think the avocado rice, I think chicken and brown rice and peanut sauce would be really good together, or maybe some pesto, whole wheat pasta, and feta cheese. You know, I want you to just go crazy and try something new. Okay? Any questions before we kind of go crazy here?
No, sounds really good.
Okay, so our next class is February 14th on Valentine's Day. Okay, so that's the second Wednesday of next month. So yeah,
Will the peanut sauce be next to the marinara?
we can make sure that it's not. Yes, we can make sure this one's far away from the marinara. And yeah, let's see. We have, if you have diabetes or if you're interested in coming to the diabetes group, that's next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Otherwise, I will hopefully see you all February 14th, okay? All right, so we're gonna kind of work on kind of divvying these ones up and putting them kind of at the different places. There are these big plates, so you can kind of compartmentalize what you want to try. And then there's forks, spoons, and knives over here in the plastic bags as well. So I would say you guys go to town.
Should we wait until you get it all separated?
Yeah,
Trying to trip me, huh?
let's do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so what's the mistake? I don't have the pool right here.
You gotta go to the table over there. You gotta show all the food it's gonna go into.